Right, as the title says, welfare check. Welfare check here, then more abuse. So I had a welfare check and then I had more abuse. The stench of fakery, and people just can't see how fake they are. I see through all of it. So basically, as going on from my last live stream last night, I'm having anxiety attacks and nightmares. Nightmares about the police thug who beat me after I found out my father has been dead for over a year. Still don't know what's happened. Nobody gives a shit. And also, I just want to say I want to respond to a comment. I don't know if it's a troll or what, but I'm going to respond to that comment because they're right about what they said on one of my live streams, because of course I've disabled my live chat for a year and my comment section because of all the targeting. But anyway, so I was lying here earlier today and I've been asleep all day because that's all I can do in the crippled state I'm in. Because that's what it is. Call a spade. And basically, so I was lying here, and one of the reasons why I can't hear someone knocking on the door or calling out is because if I've got my laptop playing sleep sounds loud, I can't hear anything. But I was woken up by knocking on the door. This member of staff had come into the flat and knocking on the door, and I'm like, what? Who is it? It's great, isn't it? When you're suffering from anxiety and nightmares because of what the police have done and everything. And then you got someone trying to come in. Because don't forget, I've had attempted rape and police kicking my door in. This is what happens. You don't get the help, you become a targeted individual. So I just got up and I said, all right, who is it? And I won't say the name of the person, of course. I'm trying not to let anyone know where I live either, of course. So, but I said, and he's like, oh, I just had to do a welfare check because you haven't been signing the register. That's all it is. They just want to know that you're breathing still. I mean, even the manageress here. I told her if anything happened to me, let Juliet know. And she wanted those details. Because you're literally a number. If you kill yourself, they couldn't give a shit. This is what it was like in supported accommodation under a social worker landlord who said I knew too much, that I might want to check that I haven't inherited my mother's cancer, and was making me homeless when my mother was dying. Actually, it was 6 days before she died that I signed a homeless application at the council. And of course, I was in a far worse state back then because I was on the floor and I couldn't eat. I was going, help, 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 help me. I couldn't physically eat. That's how ill I was. But and her friends were like, aren't they helping you with your mother's cancer or anything? Of course not. They wanted to kill us off because they couldn't give a shit. So things don't change much. So because I was starting to feel faint because I still haven't eaten. I haven't got any food in here. I've been eating takeaways and I feel like a dead person. Do you know what? If I was to say, because you know what, maybe I should have a sex change. Maybe I should then do what my sister did. And then they'll get the rainbow flags out. I identify as a butterfly. I identify as something like you, a fuckwit. No, honestly, seriously. How many genders are there? 30 odd. I'm non-binary, whatever bollocks. I'm this, I'm that. I identify as this, I identify as that. I know. Doesn't matter that I expose my breasts because I've decided I'm a man and I've got a chest and I want a penis. Yeah. Or I know I want some breasts and a penis like Baphomet. Yeah, let's get the rainbow flags out. Yeah, Bryony's now in the club. Bryony's in the club now. You know, there are so many people who just don't realise they're going to hell. They really don't realise it. There's a Watchman in America. There's so much information out there about this. Time is very short. And I'm just lying here thinking, am I going to kill myself or am I going to be here for the rapture? Am I going to kill myself or am I going to be here for the rapture? Well, we're going to be here for the rapture anyway because the dead will be raised first anyway. But, oh God, honest to God. So anyway, so what should I call him? Joe Blogs from reception. Bearing in mind he's one of the nice ones, but he also hung up on me. And this is now strike 2. He's done it again. And he also thinks that Jim on the desk is all right for shouting at me, "You've seen a mental health nurse!" Utterly demented. They're all demented. All of them. And yet here at so-and-so, we're trained in mental health, says the website. So anyway, God, you can polish a turd. I can tell you that now. You can polish a turd, but a turd is a turd. So honestly, I don't even know if he realises how intelligent I am and how much I can see through all the fakery. So he's already been Mr. Nice Guy, this young member of staff, but he's already hung up on me before. So he's come in, and I'm like, who is it? Who is it? And I'm like, ugh. It's only me I'm doing a welfare check, which is not something they tend to do. I want to know why you haven't been signing the register. So, I mean, as I said, I haven't been eating. So it's not too different to how I was when my mother died, except I couldn't physically eat. I was that ill when my mother died. I just feel like I could have a heart attack at any moment. You know what I mean? It's just all that stress and all that, whatever. So, I mean, I take after my late mother. I'm slightly anemic, but I was almost like I had to sit on the floor because I was going to faint in front of him so he could see I wasn't physically ill as well as mentally. And I said, "Oh, hang on a minute." Oh, because obviously when you're slightly anemic and you're not eating and you're not drinking and you're just not functioning because of all the trauma and everything that's been done to you on top of it. So I'm like, I was collapsing. I said, "Look at the state of me." There was a time when I couldn't go out without makeup on. And I said, "Look at me, greasy hair. I'm filthy. I'm dirty." So, what was I saying? Wow, I've got a lot of people watching. Or is it sock puppet? Is it sock puppet accounts? 16. Anyway, so I've let Juliet know about this. She hasn't yet read my email to the staff here, but they're going to get email number 2, formal complaint number 2. So anyway, this is where I'm at. Mr. Joe Blogs Anonymous, he's saying to me, I told him what happened with the police, and he said, "Oh yeah, it was in the diary." This is exactly what supported accommodation was like. The young people are cottoning on. That's why they tried to silence me in the psychiatric unit, because I was the only one who had the guts to speak up. They're just allowing themselves to be poisoned and all that shit. And I'm just telling it how it is, because, if I was to get up and say, "People, you don't need pills. You need support. You need love. You need Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach," they'd be like, "Right, you're getting out. Get the police. Get her out of here." Folks, I'm telling you now, you want to give yourself to our Savior right now. If you don't want to go to hell, pray. And the chap outside, there's a chap next door but one, and I talked him out of suicide the other night. Well, I didn't talk him out of suicide. We're both suicidal. He's lost 2 girlfriends to suicide. He's tried it. Nobody cares. So anyway, what happened a little while ago? So I say a little while ago, this afternoon, it's now 11 p.m. So I was practically on the floor. He could see how weak I was, and he's doing a welfare check. Oh, excuse me. Hello? Oh, okay. Just coming to the door. Thank you. Sorry, excuse me. That's another takeaway. Would you just... Right. Pardon me, because this is just it. I'm not eating, so pardon me. More junk food. More polystyrene everywhere, more bottles, more crap to add to the OCD. So, yeah, this is, so obviously you can see wow, 20 people watching. Are they people or sock puppet accounts? So anyway, this is just documenting reality, okay? This is what goes on in these places. and why they're trying to silence me, and why I don't think I'm going to be here much longer. So the welfare check. So this afternoon, so basically, he's quite a young looking chap. And as I said, he's hung up on me before. But he's come down here, he's tried to come in here, and I'm lying here like, what, And as I documented earlier, when I was crying and wailing on the phone when I got the news that my father's been dead over a year, did they get someone down here? No. They just called paramedics who were rude and surly, don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to this sort of thing. But at the end of the day, compassion costs nothing. You could get a child. I could get a child to do the things I've been asking for. A child. I could get someone. Honestly, the stuff I'm asking for support with, people are getting paid to do nothing here in the southeast, in East Sussex. So many people work in mental health and they do nothing. And we're all saying the same thing, but no one does anything. This is why my mother wanted to stay at sea in the 50s and 60s. She met famous people. She had an amazing life. Yes, she had some trauma, some very serious trauma, but she didn't want to come back to the UK because of how British. This is what it's like. This is what it's like. This is what I'm having to deal with. So I haven't even said what happened. So basically, he can see I had to get down on my knees and say, "Oh, I feel faint. Sorry." While I was talking to him, because I would have passed out if I hadn't have sort of got down on the floor. So you can see I'm not I'm not fucking eating, sleeping. I'm only getting up to go to the toilet, or how it, this is a physical illness. This could be like a cancer in itself, and it could end up as cancer. And I'll tell you what, I would be one of those patients who's a freaking nightmare, because I would be telling them, you never effing help me. And they'll be saying, oh, we got an old lady with cancer who's an absolute, it makes me wonder now. Some of the old ladies I cared for when I was a teenager, when I was doing care work and I got abuse from them, you don't know what people have been through. Anonymous number. There you go. Crime. That's a crime. That's a crime. Let's see how many crimes I can document, how many times they're going to ring me. That's crime number 1 this evening. So, as I was rudely interrupted by this criminal offence, anonymous call, unknown number, again, because that's another thing that he's ignoring, these crimes that are being committed against me. So as I was rudely interrupted, it just makes you wonder, the people that I did care work for, the elderly people that I cared for when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, and I was very badly bullied by a matron and staff. It just makes you wonder what has happened to those elderly people in their life. Oh, there you go. And crime number 2. So criminal offence number 2, and I'm on a welfare list. There you go. You've heard it from me. Crime number 2, and I'm on a welfare list. So that's 2 crimes this evening, because this is ongoing. We've had the obscene call that I videoed and put on loudspeaker a few months ago, police ignoring it. their crimes against me. I will finish what I'm saying. It just makes you wonder what happened. The elderly people that I cared for when I did care work with the elderly, when I was a young person. I know why you're doing this, because you are probably the kind of people that would abuse them. I heard about that Jeanette Archer, who not Jeanette Archer, someone who attacked Jeanette Archer, the victim of satanic ritual abuse. One of those trolls whose name I won't mention, but apparently she was in the paper for abusing the elderly. I'll tell you what, I'm going to switch my phone off so that these criminal offences won't continue and that I won't be rudely interrupted by them. But yes, one of the trolls who's trolled me and Jeanette Archer was apparently mentioned in the paper as having abused the elderly. Right, I will finish what I'm saying. It just makes you wonder, the people that I cared for, the elderly people that I cared for, the ones who, because there were some elderly people who were very violent, they'd dig their nails in or spit at you, and they shouldn't have been they should have been in a psychiatric care home. But, and I can say this because I think the year before I was born, there was someone in my McCarthy family called Granley who was very badly abused, but she was a nasty person as well. I don't know who that was, but my sisters will know, because my mother and my sisters, who were children in the early 80s, went to visit her and she was being abused. But she also was a nasty person. Now, I've done care work. I was very badly bullied by an elderly matron and other carers. And I've had a tape. I'm going to get to this, but I've had the social engineering phrase again, shall we say, and I'll come to that. So I'm just saying, I think they want me to end up like that. So it's my worst nightmare. They just want you to end up, as my mother said, institutionalized, run by these occultists, Masons, Satanists, and just under their control, the Tavistock Institute. So I nothing gets past me, I can tell you that. I might be polite to you, but nothing gets past me. And that's why you're afraid of me, because you know that. So, less people watching now, or sock puppet accounts. So Joe Blogs from Young Man on Reception, he's like, well, Bryony, I just want to do a welfare check on you because you haven't been signing the register. And I said, look, you know what happened? Oh, yeah, I was aware. It's in the diary. I said, because again, this is no different to supported accommodation. And I said, my father's been dead over a year. I told him what PC McCarthy did. I said how my clothes were ruined. I said how I contacted Juliet and what she's going through with her illness and trying to recover. And then I ring her up in pain and distress. My hands, I couldn't move. I told him everything. I even told him about these criminal offences, these anonymous calls, which you have just heard, these crimes which you've just witnessed. You who are watching my video now will have just witnessed these criminal offences. So I'm on a welfare check and I'm telling him all of this. And I'm telling him, look, you know what happened? Oh, yeah, I was aware. It's in the diary. I said, how my clothes were ruined. I told him what PC McCarthy did. I said how I contacted Juliet and what she's going through with her illness and trying to recover. And then I ring her up in pain and distress. My hands, I couldn't move. I told him everything. I told him everything. I even told him about these criminal offences, these anonymous calls, which you have just heard, these crimes which you've just witnessed. So I'm on a welfare check and I'm telling him all of this. And all he wants to do is just check that I've got a beating heart. Because people are killing themselves all the time in these places. We got Beachy Head is strategically placed. So they've got all this information because this is like Illuminati central by the sea, because Eastbourne has got a stronghold for Freemasonry and it's very Tory influenced. But because I've spent my whole life down here, it's taken me a long time. You have to actually be vulnerable to actually see what's going on. And what really makes me sick about these fake people is that they've had Sherelle Clark here and they admitted to it. The woman who was mentioned in the national news, I can't actually call her a woman, that vile creature degenerate and her mother, it's online. The BBC mentioned it. Just look at the comments. Well, you don't, you just, anyone who mugs the elderly with their mother is the lowest of the low. And I was assaulted by this drunk in the last place. So I've told, the staff all know this. They know because I've told them everything. I didn't tell them my YouTube channel name. I think I might have said I was documenting, but they pick the bits out that they want to and then say, oh, be wary of this one. That's what it seems like. So I haven't yet told you how Joe Bloggs ended our conversation. He seemed all nicey. What do you do to relax? I thought, oh my gosh. Heard it all before. Here we go. What do you do to help you relax? Do you do drawing and painting and yeah. I made this for Darren's. I made this for Darren's friend at the food bank. And you can see on my YouTube channel how he treated me, because he too, when I was self-funding the Cavendish for 9 months for my safety, I played him a recording of a criminal threatening to beat me up. And what did he do? No, Luke, no. He said, I'm praying for you. Your life is not in danger. We're going round in circles, and he hung up on me. That same phrase, which is exactly what Joe Bloggs on the desk here has done this evening. And I'm just coming to that. I was in one of these dangerous places when I made this for Steve, Darren's friend. He's meant to be a Christian. My possessions, the bag was ruined. Everything is fucking ruined. I'm swearing now because I think it's absolutely diabolical. It's absolutely, and Eben, you as well. You're a lawyer. You appear to be a Christian because I've seen your Bibles and your scriptures everywhere. And I've got that letter and I will show it where you're threatening to dispose of my things. And apparently, as you've seen in my recent live streams, I've got evidence where the care coordinator is saying that you've got the neighbours to dispose of my things. You're not making any sense though. But you don't know what happened to them. And I made a thank you gift for you. Do you know what? You're all as bad as each other. Because Darren was arrested in your flat, but you don't care about that either. So you don't care about me. You don't care that your friend was arrested. You've abused my trust. My trust has been abused here. You're all going to be answerable for yourselves. That's all I can say. So this Joe Bloggs, anonymous chap on the desk here, I told him about the 77 Brigade and the anonymous calls because they know that I've been harassed. These are serious criminal offences. I told them that I'd been beaten by the police many times during a welfare check. I still don't know what happened to my father. So he's not actually doing a proper welfare check. He's just doing I saw Bryony. I've done my bit. I can write that down. She's still alive. Not, oh, poor Bryony. Yeah, she doesn't know how her father died. We'll look into that. Oh, she's got criminal offences that are continuing, which are serious crimes on the Metropolitan Police website. Uh, she's told me that 101 call handlers are still illegally terminating her calls, going against the Professional Standards Department written apology a couple of years ago. No, he hasn't done that. This is what he did. This is exactly what he did. So you can see that I was almost fainting on the floor because I said I've been having anxiety attacks and nightmares, and the police have pushed me to suicide. So I said, I'm not eating properly. He's seeing me physically unwell. So this is the welfare check. He is seeing that I physically cannot look after myself. And I was like, oh, can I? And I was like, I was kneeling on the floor as he was leaving, like crawling on the floor, like saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I feel a bit faint." He said, go and have a rest." I said, "Yeah, but you need to take what I'm saying seriously." But then they never do. So the long and short of it was, he went back to reception, and that's where it all gets stirred up inside. Because I told him about the home's first threats, the letter where they've said that I've been these lies, these filthy lies, where he said he saw my email. Whether he read it or not, I don't know. But I put on the email private and confidential for the manageress. Private and confidential in bold letters. So, but if they've read it, they've read it. But he's notified that I sent. He can see on the system that I've sent a formal complaint yesterday, and now they're going to get a second formal complaint about him, Mr. Joe Bloggs, and I'll explain why. Because when he went back to the desk, and bearing in mind, I've told him in absolute 100% detail everything that the police did to me, and how Juliet and I went to the crisis team and how they abused me there and then, the crisis team. They didn't care that Juliet has got CANCER. They don't, oh, she shouldn't be here. I said, they don't care about her, and they don't care about me, because if they cared about her, they'd be helping me, because I'm putting all my distress onto her, and these people are absolutely, completely irresponsible and willfully neglectful. And Joe Bloggs on the desk also repeats what he said. Oh, Jim is just the way he is. Jim is Jim. No, it's not Jim is Jim. That's just the way he is. I don't care if he's an alcoholic. I don't care if he's an alcoholic or what his problems are. You know, we all know. Yeah, I know the Scottish have, Glaswegians have a, you know, so do the Irish. So what? I don't care. I don't care what this person's problems are. He's been here for 25 years. He's got a lot to hide. He offered that Jim offered to write a written statement for me, and I haven't been recording stuff. By law, I can, and I don't have to tell people. It's only if I publish it. I know the law on recording, but I actually let him know that I had recorded him. Legally, I can record someone without them knowing. I know the law. That's why people are always disputing this and attacking auditors in public. But for my own legal purposes, I said I would delete that recording of Jim where he said he remembers me here from 6 years ago, because the food bank, I can't believe this is happening to me. The food bank had received, it's still online, the petition. Before I was here 6 years ago, there was a petition online saying to the Trestle Trust, which is the Illuminati-based food bank, saying, stop picking on the vulnerable because the criminals are the ones being protected. But they actually had Sherelle Clark here, who was mugging the elderly with her mother. And because the manageress said, yes, we had her here. So they're probably getting a bit nervous because why? Because I'm telling the truth. They moved her into a property. She'd been twice, she's been mentioned online in the national news as mugging the elderly on the Isle of Wight, Hampshire Constabulary, before she was placed in my home, in my council accommodation. They move vulnerable people around the town to wear them out, but not house them. And Tina Chave of the Independent Advice Network should know this because she said, as a woman on severe disability, you shouldn't even be in these places. So I'm just being bullied. But I still haven't told you what Mr. Joe Bloggs on the reception did earlier today, which is going to warrant a second formal complaint. Give me strength. I rang reception when he left here and I said, if that complaint about noise complaints wasn't about me crying and wailing on the day that I received news that my father has been dead for over a year, because I read an email from the law firm, and this was a few days after Jim on the desk had screamed and shouted at me, "You've seen a mental health nurse!" Because on the Monday, I was already wanting to go up to Beachy Head and kill myself. Then on the Friday, I get the email, the bad news about my father, making me further want to kill myself. So I said, so that this is where the staff are, they're making their own notes, because he said, oh, it was you that was out in a dressing gown the other night. Because I said I wouldn't be seen dead in a dressing gown in normal circumstances, let alone expose my breasts. But I did that because that was to show the police that they can no longer humiliate me, because they tried to get me in prison over a welfare check on Beachy Head. Do you understand where I'm going with this? If you have any common sense between your ears, anything, in fact, anything at all, even just a minute amount of common sense, you'll know this is not just abnormal, it's criminal. I said to him, do you realise it's up to life in prison for malfeasance of office, when he was being Mr. Nice Guy in here? Soon as he got behind that desk, because he knows that this lady next door can't hear, because he knows that no one else can hear, he's on the phone. And he said to me, well, the thing is, if you see the police outside, just let them get on with their work. Work? I said, I went outside with my camera to film them, because I don't have a smartphone, to leave a message for them that if I kill myself, which still could happen, and I might have missed that threatening letter on the carpet the other day, that they have pushed me to suicide so many times over 6 years, that 3 or 4 years ago, PCSO said, Bryony, most people would have given up a long time ago. And to be perfectly honest, we'd be more angry than you. This is what the British public are just allowing people to have crimes committed against them, to have their human rights and civil liberties taken left, right, and centre, and not one person is doing anything. So don't you go crying to anyone if you do nothing. And that goes to you, Nikki Jackson, because you've got 2 siblings in the police force. And you've got a niece who is going into the Priory, which to Joe Bloggs would be 173 grand a year. And you need to report these crimes, which you've just witnessed 2 crimes this evening on this live stream. I reached out to Dan and Tina Chave of the Independent Advice Network, who falsely offered me help, lied to me, barefaced liars, grifters. And I still haven't finished what I'm saying. This young chap on the reception this evening, after he was here doing the welfare check, because I tend to divert. I go off on a slight tangent and then I come back again. So he left here, went back to reception desk. I said there was a drunk woman right outside yelling and screaming. Did she get? Did she? She was the one. This drunk woman outside. I saw how gentle. I tell you what. I saw how gentle the police were with her. There she was shouting and wailing, and they're all around her. They've got her on the ground. About 3 police cars and a whole great big van turned up for these numpties, the police. But are they saying anything to her? No. But I come out to say, and I said to what's his name? I'll say his name because I've said Jim's name. Gus is his name. I said, Gus. I said, I've told you what the police have done to me. I've told you there's serious crimes against me over 6 years. And that you think it's normal that I find out that my father's been dead for over a year and that they beat me on Beachy Head. And what they say, Intel said, they take one little thing and tell me they take what they want and blow it into something extremely dangerous. When they're inciting hatred, indecent, law-abiding, I told him while he was here, I said, I'm the sort of person who complains about cycling on pavements and smoking in bus shelters. They go against the highway code and £100 fine a time, but people are always doing that. Yet they kept targeting me, but real criminals who are mugging the elderly get away with that. And he's like, oh, we'll just let them get on with their job. I said, listen, I wasn't shouting abuse at them, but I said I could have done. What I was doing was saying what you lot out there have pushed me to suicide. And I still don't, I shouted out, I still don't know. It's on my YouTube channel. You can see it. You can see my behavior that caused other people distress. You can see I'm outside in the dark in my dressing gown. And that's when the chap next door started talking to me. And he's attempted suicide and lost 2 girlfriends to suicide. And he desperately didn't want me to leave him. He wanted to come in here, which he's not allowed to do. And I said, I can't let you in here. But he, over there, we're both suicidal. So anyway, the point that I'm making is he said, you've got to let them get on with their job, you see. I said, yes. Under normal circumstances, I would let them get on with their jobs. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't. I'd leave them alone. Emergency workers, of course. But this was the point where he said, look. He got all funny. Complete change of character. Look, we're going round in circles. I said, oh, here we go. Yawn. I've heard that phrase so many times. And he turned really not. This is abuse. This is abuse. They're meant to be trained in mental health. And I see through all the bullshit. I've told him everything. He said, well, Brian, if you've got a problem with all of us here, I thought, here we go. The same old narcissism. So he said that it's just beggars belief. It's beggars belief. You deserve go and join them. Don't go and join them. We're going round in circles. Wait for it. I said, I've heard it all before. And then he said, I'm terminating the call. Whether that's social engineering or not, whether that's what they're trained in or the Tavistock Institute, I don't know. But it does seem to be very strange that so many people that work in these institutions, and that includes Darren's friend at the food bank, They seem to have got this human relations. It makes me feel physically sick because it's not human relations. It's mind control, psychology that, as Mark Devlin said, and I text Mark Devlin, as Mark Devlin said in his talks, they're trained by psychopaths. The social workers, some social workers and police get their training from the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations. Mark Devlin says in his conferences, because he's a speaker, it's run by psychopaths. It's psychopathic. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now. So basically, the long and short of it, I've told him what the police crimes against me. I've told him in full detail what happened to me, how my father has died and don't know what happened to him. I'm struggling to eat and sleep and function. He sees me practically fainting on the floor. And last but not least, these criminal offences that are continuing by the 77 Brigade and or police abusing powers, Dan and his minions, I don't know. All these nasty, fake grifters to a woman who is already vulnerable, suicidal, and at the frigging end of it. And all this young man is doing what he's been told to say. What do you do? What do you do that helps you to relax? That's got nothing to do with these issues that I need support with. It's like brainwashing. Oh, and it's like he's been trained. They've all been trained to say, if she gets a bit funny, if she actually starts standing up for herself and making you, just say we're going round in circles and terminate the call, and that should just stress them out a bit and make them shut up. Because Mark Devlin, you have to watch Mark Devlin. I know what he's talking about. They're trying to wake up the masses. I know what's going on. And this is why they're trying to shut me down. But there you go. Criminal offences from all and sundry, anonymous calls, police brutality. Don't know what happened to my father. Oh, and of course, not least of all, domestic abuse issues. Abuse from Darren's friend, who could be watching me, because obviously, I mean, I've had to even text Juliet, can I trust you? Which feels terrible. Terrible that I should text her that. It's terrible. But it's all this gaslighting, because Eben's not been honest with me. She's been very, very, she didn't want to speak to Juliet. So she's abused my trust and been very sly and contacted Juliet behind my back and said these disgusting things, and then threatened in a letter to get rid of my things. I've got the letter. I swear on my love, I've had enough. The letter from Eben, dated 14th of December. Dispose. I can hardly read her writing. Dispose of them. Dispose of. Dispose. That was the 14th of December from Eben. And then I've got the recording of the care coordinator saying, oh, she's not sure that, because she did say to me she needed space on the landing because all my stuff was there. But even though I've been very careful, I've put as much of my stuff as neatly away and all in her little study, which you can see on YouTube, because a lot of my live streams were made in the study. Whilst I have been working my butt off to get help from the local government and social care ombudsman and added to the 99% of bad reviews on Trustpilot, what has Darren done? DC Kamar was meant to look into emotional abuse issues. They haven't done anything. They haven't done anything at all. But I've got the recordings where DC Kamar has thrown it back to the care coordinator. And she's just, well, there aren't as many things as there were before because Eben has abused me. And I made a thank you gift, not too dissimilar to this. I made a thank you gift for Eben, saying, with Eben's name and Yahweh's name, our Heavenly Father, saying thank you for letting me have you in your flat. But she's disposed of things of mine. I've also got some valuable possessions. And this is from the paramedics. This is from the paramedics, a genuine legal document with a reference where they took photographs of the bruises and the injuries caused by PC McCarthy. But no one gives a damn. No one gives a damn. No one. No one. And why can't I read my text message? I've got my phone switched off now because of the crimes that are being committed against me. But I can't open the text messages from my sister, my eldest sister, because of how they treated me 6 months after my mother died. It took guts to take an overdose of unprescribed, dangerous antipsychotics by an absolute, a grifter, a social worker landlord under social enterprise. He was in it for his pension, and he even told my dying mother. And my sisters, what did they say to the Brighton hospital? She does this all the time. Thanks, but I still love you. I still love my sisters. I still pray for you, but I can't read your text messages. You kept me away from Iris. You kept me away from Iris. I still don't know what happened to Iris. I don't even know if she's alive. My father's been dead over a year and no one told me. What happened to Iris? Because my godmother has got questions to answer. She rang me out of the blue saying, well, I was in that dangerous property. She said, Iris has got cancer, and then she just retracted it. She wasn't making any bloody sense whatsoever. So what did happen to my late mother's best friend? Where is she? Is she dead too, like my father? I paid £45 to the Salvation Army to find my father. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here much longer because my body's giving up on me. I don't care. So in a response to that comment from whoever it is that commented under my live stream, evidence of licensees attacking me, it was a neighbourhood watch area. I know that for a fact because I saw stickers in some windows. Wow. I was the one writing letters to the neighbours, and I've got recordings of people, neighbours from the Riverbourne house supporting me. I've visited someone in the Riverbourne house. Juliet's friend is an occupational therapist. I've got to be careful what I say. Juliet has been a support worker, and she's got what illness she's got. Her friend was an occupational therapist who's got a very upsetting condition, which I won't mention. And she came out to support me. But what did the council do? The council threatened me to stay away from the Riverbourne house. So there you go. It's all there. It's all there. Let everyone know about my channel.